I'm probably not the first person to talk about YouTube's AI thumbnail problem, and I'm definitely not the first to talk about the controversies surrounding AI in general. But as an avid YouTube watcher, I know that there's two types of genres on YouTube that are guilty of using AI thumbnails, that being MrBeast kids content or horror/conspiracy content. And it's bothering me because I feel like the death of creativity is staring at me in the face. Not just about AI being used in YouTube thumbnails, but about AI in general. I think that using AI for YouTube thumbnails is just an easy way out. It tells me that the creator of the content doesn't actually care about the content they're creating. It tells me that they value money and quantity over quality and creativity. I honestly think the only value AI has on the human race is it being used as a tool for people with disabilities. Otherwise, all AI does is devoid people of creative thinking and has negative effects on the environment, which I will touch on later. I understand it can be used as a tool for getting over a creative block, but I think that using a tool that steals from other artists and has negative effects on the environment is just simply unethical. My favorite part about making YouTube videos is editing and making the thumbnails. And don't get me wrong, I enjoy writing my scripts and filming, but those two things are the most mentally draining for me. But going back to AI thumbnails, whenever I'm scrolling through the Explore page and I see a video with an AI thumbnail, I'm not inclined to watch it. Even though the idea of using AI for your thumbnails is to make them seem more enticing and interesting. So what is YouTube's stance on using AI? Well, AI-generated content and AI-generated thumbnails are allowed on YouTube. However, it's important to disclose that the video that you're putting up is using AI. When uploading a YouTube video, there is a setting to where you can select if the video uses altered content or not. This setting is not required, but it is highly recommended. And I'm going to link an article below from WordPress that talks more about YouTube's AI policies. So with generating AI thumbnails, there are websites that use A/B testing. And what is A/B testing? It's a method of two-sample hypothesis testing. This means comparing the outcomes of two different choices, A and B, by running a controlled experiment. This method is also sometimes referred to as split testing. This method primarily uses two products, services, ideas, etc. to determine which version will perform better. So what does A/B testing have to do with thumbnails? Well, there are a lot of A/B thumbnail testing websites where you can input a prompt or an image and the website will determine which thumbnail will give you the highest click-through rate or views. Which brings me back to my original point that YouTube creators who use AI in their thumbnails don't actually care about their content and they care about click-through rates or their views. Now I'm going to talk about the ethics of AI. As told by the Harvard Gazette, quote, "For decades, artificial intelligence, or AI, was the engine of high-level STEM research. Most consumers became aware of the technology's power and potential through internet platforms like Google and Facebook, and retailer Amazon. Today, AI is essential across the vast array of industries including healthcare, banking, retail, and manufacturing, but its game-changing promise to do things like improve efficiency, bring down costs, and accelerate research and development has been tempered of late with worries that these complex, opaque systems may do more societal harm than economic good. With virtually no U.S. government oversight, private companies use AI software to make determinations about health and medicine, employment, creditworthiness, and even criminal justice without having to answer for how they're ensuring that programs aren't encoded consciously or unconsciously with structural biases. Its growing appeal and utility are undeniable. Worldwide business spending on AI is expected to hit $50 billion this year and $110 billion annually by 2024, even after the global economic slump caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, according to a forecast released in August by technology research firm IDC. Retail and banking industries spent the most this year, at more than $5 billion each. The company expects the media industry and federal and central governments will invest most heavily between 2018 and 2023 and predicts that AI will be the disrupting influence changing entire industries over the next decade. And with companies spending trillions of dollars on AI software, this brings me to the environmental impacts of AI. As told by MIT News, quote, "The computational power required to train generative AI models that often have billions of parameters, such as OpenAI's GPT-4, can demand a staggering amount of electricity, which leads to increased carbon dioxide emissions and pressures on the electric grid. Furthermore, deploying these models in real-world applications, enabling millions to use generative AI in their daily lives, and then fine-tuning the models to improve their performance draws large amounts of energy long after a model has been developed. Beyond electricity demands, a great deal of water is needed to cool the hardware used for training, deploying, and fine-tuning generative AI models, which can strain municipal water supplies and disrupt local ecosystems. The increasing number of generative AI applications has also spurred demand for high-performance computing hardware, adding indirect environmental impacts from its manufacture and transport. I would also like to note the amount of power being used in the same article, which says, quote, "Scientists have estimated that the power requirements of data centers in North America increased from 2,688 megawatts at the end of 2022 to 5,341 megawatts at the end of 2023, partly driven by the demands of generative AI. Globally, the electricity consumption of data centers rose to 460 terawatts in 2022. This would have made data centers the 11th largest electricity consumer in the world between the nations of Saudi Arabia at 371 terawatts and France 463 terawatts, according to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. By 2026, the electricity consumption of data centers is expected to approach 1,050 terawatts, which would bump data centers up to 5th place on the global list between Japan and Russia. The power needed to train and deploy a model like OpenAI's GPT-3 is difficult to ascertain. In a 2021 research paper, scientists from Google and the University of California at Berkeley estimated the training process alone consumed 1,287 megawatt hours of electricity, enough to power about 120 average U.S. homes for a year, generating about 552 tons of carbon dioxide. Researchers have estimated that a ChatGPT query consumes about 5 times more electricity than a simple web search. Next, I'm going to briefly summarize why AI is untrustworthy. An article called AI's Trust Problem by the Harvard Business Review outlines 12 reasons why AI is untrustworthy. That being, AI spreads disinformation, safety and security concerns with AI being used in cybersecurity attacks, the black box problem, which is about transparency, ethical concerns, which I've already touched on, bias, which is about AI already having a learned idea about racial bias, instability, hallucinations in LLMs, unknown unknowns, job loss and social inequalities, environmental impact, which I've already touched on, industry concentration, which I've also touched on, and state overreach, meaning that governments in various countries are using AI for surveillance on the public. Most of these points I've already talked about, but I'm going to link the article that I just quoted from below if you want to read more in depth. Lastly, I'm going to link an article from Virginia Tech engineer called AI, the Good, the Bad, and the Scary, which outlines the pros and cons of AI as told by various engineering professors. And I'm also going to link an article from NBC News called Visual Artists Fight Back Against AI, which outlines a lawsuit that alleges AI image generators violate artist rights. And that's all I have for you today. As always, I hope this video was thorough and informative. I'm thinking about uploading more frequently on here, maybe posting once a week instead of once every 2 weeks. So with that being said, you can subscribe if you want, and since I don't have an uploading schedule, you might as well turn on the notification bell so that way you'll be notified the next time I decide to post. Thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you next week and not in 2 weeks with a new video.